Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room. This is for the UFC 256 main card lightweight fight between Renato Moicano and Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to say it a few different ways throughout this War Room, so please forgive me, including Mr. Fiziev himself. I've called you fights, but I've said it both ways, and I'm not exactly sure which. And it's too late to call John Gooden now, and I know he'll tell me off if I get it wrong. But we'll continue anyway. We must press on. Okay, I'm excited for this one, and this is the reason I'm doing a War Room for it, because for Moicano, obviously he's only had one fight at 155, but he's always been someone I've held in high regard. I've always felt like he was someone that was right at the precipice of turning the corner in his career and really showing how good he is, and we see this from time to time, fighters, they'll ebb and flow and then they'll hit this streak. And sometimes that streak, is determined by weight class. And I feel like that might be the situation with Moicano. I've just recorded the War Room for the Charles Oliveira, Tony Ferguson fight. And I feel like it's a very similar situation for Oliveira. Since moving back to 155, he's been 8-1. And that one loss was the Paul Felder fight where he threw everything at him and looked great, but just wasn't able to get the finish. And Felder is the dog that he is, and got the TKO. So the point is, what the Hrdy fight was for Moicano may have been the beginning of this new streak at 155, where he looks excellent and he finds himself very much a problem in this division quite quickly. So his opponent, Rafael Fiziev, is a great striker. I called his UFC debut as well, and I believe one of his other fights. Yeah, I called his first two fights, and I remember that obviously the Magomed Mustafayev one was a very disappointing fight for him, because Fiziev coming in is he's a kickboxer. He wants to prove how skilled his striking game is. The one thing that he's known for from the kickboxing ring was his slip out the way of kicks, and we've seen it a few times in the UFC where people will throw a kick, and even body kicks he's ducking out the way of. It's one of the benefits in his height not being quite as great as Moicano's, is if Moicano's throwing head and body kicks, Fiziev's going to be underneath them and still pressuring him. So that might change Moicano's game a little bit. But I very much expect, a really, really good striking matchup. I think Moicano may want to press this fight to the floor. It may be something to prefer. We've only got one submission on Fiziev's record, and he is very much more a kickboxer than anything else. He's got a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but Moicano's a proven finisher. All of his finishes come from rear naked choke, which I find interesting. He's 14-3-1. His three losses have all been to excellent fighters: Korean Zombie, Jose Aldo, and Brian Ortega. And as I said, they were all at 145. So I do feel like we're going to see a breath of fresh air in his performances at 155. I mean, he's 5'11". He's just not suited for 145. He's not built for it. And the Brian Ortega fight, he was winning that fight 2 rounds until he got caught in that guillotine. He's a very, very good fighter. And oftentimes it's a volume of striking that then encourages his opponents to want to tangle with his ground game and test it. And as I said, a 14 wins, 7 finishes, all by rear naked choke. It might very much be his signature move that we're going to start seeing from this point onwards. Now, Fiziev has only got one loss on his record, and that was the back kick from Mustafayev, which is one of those things that it's difficult to predict, difficult to see coming. Mustafayev's a very stoic individual, very difficult to read, just kind of stares through you. So it was hard for him to see that kick coming, and I know it's frustrated him since. But after that, he had a great fight against Alex White in Singapore, and then went on to fight in Abu Dhabi against Mark Jacasey. And took a fight of the night. Varied striking, skills, stance switching, pressuring and slipping under kicks. Really, really good hands, fast combinations, and you can just see that striking pedigree showing through. For as much experience as Moicano's had in mixed martial arts, Fiziev is way ahead of that in Muay Thai kickboxing. what's his record? 39-8 with 29 knockouts. So he's a power puncher with 10-ounce, 8-ounce gloves on. So you put him in 4-ounce gloves and you give him the confidence to move into range in MMA, and I really think he has the potential to be a problem. But I also feel the same with Moicano. This lightweight division is so stacked. You've got two guys that are sitting outside of the rankings now that within 2 or 3 fights could be in serious conversation for for ranking spots, and for at least for fights against people with ranking spots and with numbers. Fiziev, for my money, is there's a lot about his game that reminds me of Peter Yan, although his work rate's higher. For Moicano, he's got a real nice Muay Thai style, but the rear naked chokes that are the exclamation mark on the majority of his fights. So, quick rundown on UFC stats. Fight time leans towards Fiziev, but that's obviously based on his UFC career, which is 1 stoppage and 2 15-minute battles. Moicano, lots of finishes on his record, either to or against him. Height advantage for Moicano, but not much of a reach advantage. 1 inch. He's going to look like the taller, rangier fighter in there, but the compact frame of Fiziev is going to be evident when he starts throwing those power shots, because he's able to create such a whip, such a torque in his body, whereas Moicano is much more of an accurate kind of pick you apart and find channels through your guard. Fiziev can hit you through your guard and he's still going to hurt you. You can tell that there's a lot of firepower in his frame. So although he does give a bit in height, he certainly makes up for it in firepower. Switching stance as well makes up for a reach disadvantage, because you can cover distance quicker. Stepping through from southpaw to orthodox gives you the advantage of cutting 90 degrees off and constantly sweeping somebody back up against the fence, which I expect Fiziev to do. He's going to want to cut Moicano down, but maybe manage him to a point where he's not able to clinch him too much. What else? So striking output is strikes landed per minute is higher for Moicano. Striking accuracy is higher for Fiziev. But striking defense is higher for Moicano. So, on the feet, I'm excited to see how that plays out. I don't see much of a tussle on the ground from Fiziev, because I think he's going to respect Moicano's ground game. And we do see more takedowns out of Moicano, even though Fiziev's got 100% takedown offense. Although, again, I'll reiterate, that's based on a few UFC fights, and Moicano's been around for a considerable time longer in the UFC. So, I think I've covered him in this fight. Yeah, Moicano came into the UFC at 8-0. So he's had a lot of fights in the UFC at this point, and he's beaten some good guys as well. Tom Ninimaki by a rear naked choke. Ninimaki was tearing it up on the European scene when I was around. Rear naked choke over Cub Swanson, of course, is an excellent win to have on your record, but really that Hrdy fight was standout, because again, Hrdy is somebody else that I hold in high regard in this division. And that was just a very, very impressive performance from Moicano to really introduce himself to this lightweight division. I'm glad this is on the main card, because these guys deserve a bit of attention. This is going to be fireworks. Enjoy this one. See you next time.